Hey guys, welcome to the Wrestling Escape Pod and welcome to this very exciting episode. I've got to be honest, this is not an episode that I was anticipating us doing anytime soon, but I am super excited about it because it's such an interesting subject and it's one that definitely takes me out of my comfort zone. So I've done quite a bit of research on this. I mean, I've not found much out, but I've done a lot of research. I've tried. I've certainly tried. Someone that doesn't need to try, though. Someone that is oozing machismo. My co-host with the most, Tommy Toy Travels. Now, Tommy, let's get straight into this. How's the vacation going?
It is going Z-Power 5-6. It's going well. I definitely can confirm that I am in my quarter midlife crisis.
Yes.
Or midlife, because as you can maybe tell, I don't know, I feel a little like Two-Face right now, but I have not shaved in a little while. I haven't been outside other than to go to Walmart, but Walmart's not really a place to brag about going to outside. And I made I got the bike last week, and that was like a good choice. This week, I've made some mistakes, Daze.
Oh, what has gone down? What has gone down in Tommy Town?
I made a purchase that, when I was at the store, it seemed like a good idea. But then when I brought it back to my place, had to carry it, had to realize what I actually purchased. Realized I might have made a mistake.
Go on, what is it? I can't even speculate. I can't get
it right here next to me.
Oh, hello.
It is a 50-pound bag of rice.
Yes! Yes!
Yeah.
Yes! Yes! Wow. How did you get that home on the bike? That's what I want to know.
Dude, I am so jacked. Ooh.
Was it on the shoulder? Like this?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was on the head. On the head.
On the head.
With my yeah. Yeah. It was easy.
That's amazing. I mean, wow. There's so many questions, but the first one has to be why. I mean, was it that you was using a lot of little packs and you just thought, no, it's time that I play the game rather than the game plays me?
That was a little bit of it, because we are in a pandemic right now. Rice is one of those things that people are getting. It's tough to get a bulk amount, and I usually like to get rice in bulk because I tend to eat a lot, but I've never gone over the 25-pound limit because that's usually what I do. But I was at the big store, the big store. It's a big American type of thing because we like our big bigs. And I saw they had jasmine rice. You know me, I'm a huge fan of jasmine rice, but it was 25 pounds for like $15. But then I saw 50 pounds of regular rice for $20.
How'd you turn that
And
down?
I was like, I ain't playing with this. I know we're in a pandemic. I need some rice. I'm buying a 50-pound bag of rice. But then I got home and I was like, I do not eat 50 pounds of rice a year. I have made a terrible mistake.
Is it a mistake? Is it a mistake? I mean, you're gonna use the rice. Are you gonna use all of the rice? I actually don't know. Does rice go out of date? Is there a date on rice? I don't even know.
Let's do a survey on Twitter.
What? That's the best way to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could check the packaging, but no, that's not the way forward for this one. We'll put a poll up on Twitter right now. Does rice go out of date? So if you go over to Twitter right now, the Wrestling Escape Pod. I mean, by the time you actually get there, if you're not listening to this live, it's already happened. But if you are watching this live, go over to Twitter and you will see a poll. Does rice go? I just can't even. As I'm saying the words, I'm like, what is going on? Am I having a fever dream? Is this a fever dream? Wow.
It feels like it.
It very much feels like it. Did you manage to get that picture, by the way, of you and the bike?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, what picture did I tell people I'd take?
It was going to be you with the bike.
Okay.
No?
I have many pictures with my bike.
Okay.
Because, you know, like, when you get in a new relationship, you just really want a lot of time and opportunity to spend with them. And it's just like, you know how some people put their girlfriend or boyfriend as their lock screen? This is my lock screen.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
I got nothing but mad respect for you, because we promise things and you deliver them. I mean, last week we said there would be a picture of you with the bike, and I remember after we'd recorded, I actually said to you, I was like, look, is that going to be all right? Like, I know this just kind of came out the blue, but is this something we can actually do? And you was like, yeah, that's no problems at all. I mean, you are so chilled about it. You went out, you bought a massive bag of rice. Do you know what I mean? You just carried on with your life. But you then delivered what everyone had been waiting for, and that is the picture of you with the bike. Has the bike got a name?
It's Sherwood.
Diamondback
Sherwood, yeah.
Okay, right. I mean, I think I saw one of them on a nature program. I'm not sure. Shall we try and slip into wrestling video games, or have you got any other
Before we do that, I just have one question for you, because I know we talk about things and then sometimes they're dropped, sometimes the bits don't continue, but there's one bit I need to know. I made my dumb purchase of 50 pounds of rice, but what about your purchase of dirt? Have you received that yet?
Do you know, I haven't. I haven't. As soon as I get it, I will show it on the pod. But it's going to be it's not going to be the same level as you with Sherwood. I love the fact I love the fact I'm using that name now. You and Sherwood. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it's nice to spend time with Sherwood.
Yes, I bet. Did you go anywhere exciting with Sherwood? Have you found it?
Just around the neighborhood.
Okay.
You know, we're kind of laid back. We don't really like to go to big places, do big things. It's more just like nice stroll around the neighborhood.
In my mind, I can just see people looking out the curtains as you. I don't know why, but Sherwood in my mind right now is a lowrider. It's kind of one of those long kind of, you know, that's really like this. And I can just imagine for some reason it's a housewife just having a look out and see what's happening, and you're just cycling past, staring quite slowly with a bag of rice on either probably one strapped to your back and one on top of your head as you're like riding past on Sherwood.
Mm-hmm.
Just
that's exactly the visual.
Terrorizing the neighborhood whilst you're on vacation. So wonderful images, wonderful. I mean, I feel like we could stop there with this week's episode. I don't even think we need to go anywhere else. Life. Yes, indeed. Right, yeah. Okay. Let's get stuck into video games. And oh man, this was hard. I'm not gonna lie. This was hard. This was hard for me because I've got a lot of wrestling games, but I haven't played a lot of wrestling games. What I do, this has been a voyage of discovery for me. It turns out I have got a problem, and my problem is that I will buy a video game every year, so I have got a real good collection of wrestling video games, but I will get them the day, the week that they come out. I will play them for a day or the week they come out, and then I never touch them again. This has been a real discovery for me. So, and I didn't really realize that I did this, but it's only when I was kind of going back and like, okay, what's the differences between that and that? And I was like, I haven't got a clue. I can't remember what game is that. It's like, I've got this game. I've played this game. And it's like, well, what makes that stand out from that? And how does that differ from that? And oh man, it was hard. It was, yeah, I really struggled.
Same.
Yeah, what's your history like with wrestling video games or video games in general?
I do define myself as a gamer. I have grown up with video games in my life, and yeah, kind of like what you said is how you can't tell them apart because they're all so similar. Like, it's not like I can be like, oh, there's no Ocarina of Time versus Majora's Mask of WWE games. They're all basically the same thing. It's like Madden. It just comes out with a new one, and nothing's really definitive. That's why, is it Battleground, the new one that's coming out?
Yes.
I think that's why people are very excited for it. Not that it's going to be anywhere near the level of Ocarina of Time, but it could be akin to Mortal Kombat rather than Madden, which Madden is just another installment, wherein Mortal Kombat is building on lore, building on graphics, and just each year we get a new one, but it's not just the same package with a different coat of paint on it.
Can I do you want me to blast through a little bit of history? Have you got some history, or?
No, I went a different route this week.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
let me do a little bit of history. I'll bring us up to like the 2000s, and then maybe if you've got anything like 90s wise that you want to talk about, we can do that, and then we can move on to the 2000s. Yeah. Okay, so the first non-WWE wrestling game that I could find was Tag Team Wrestling that came out in the arcades around about 1983. Following on from that to like the first home like wrestling game, Micro League Wrestling. This was actually on like cassette tapes. It's really weird. It's on cassette tapes. It was available for like the Commodore 64 and the Atari. This came out in 1989, and it was like a turn-based game. So you had your wrestler, and then you had their moves, and you would select a move, and then it would take a little bit of damage off the opponent, and then the opponent would select a move, and it would take a little bit of damage off you. And I have no idea how the game actually works in the sense of how do you win, because it just seemed like you did a move, took a bit of damage off, they did a move, took a bit of damage off, and it was very, very different to like what you would expect from a wrestling game. It was like text and just still images. So yeah, that was obviously 1989, and that was for, you know, like the Atari, the Commodore 64, not bags of power in those machines. But also around this time, WrestleMania came out, and this is kind of a little more like what you would expect from a wrestling game. And I think that's why it's got a lot of affection. A lot of people, you know, see that as the first WWE licensed game, obviously WWF at the time. Technically not true because of that Micro League Wrestling, but yeah, this is definitely where you would go back to. This is the closest to what we would have today. And as I said, you know, it was all right. I mean, it's aged horribly, of course, but yeah, not bad. Around this time in the arcades, 1989, there was WWE Superstars. This had incredible graphics. I mean, compared to what you was getting at home, arcades were so far ahead of what you were getting at home. I mean, I can honestly remember around the early 90s going to arcades and playing like games there and just thinking, you know, one day I wonder if we will have this at home. Like, could you imagine having this at home? And it's just, it seemed at the time unfathomable. And of course, we are so far past where that was now. A great example would be Wrestlefest, and this really is one of the key titles for me. So we were just talking about Superstars that was in the cinemas, in the arcades in 1989. Wrestlefest went into arcades 1991. And I mean, this is a mind-blowing game. The graphics were stunning. You know, even their faces on the characters, you could start to see really were resembling the people that they were representing. And it had a decent roster, loads of legends. It had like a campaign mode and everything. There was like promos in the games as well. Did you ever play that actually in the arcade, Wrestlefest?
No, but didn't you get like a mini cabinet with the mini gaming cabinet with that game in it?
Yeah. I'm a massive fan of that game. It was something that I would look for if ever I went to an arcade. If ever like we went to the seaside in the UK and there was a little arcade place that we'd pop into, I'd be looking for that cabinet. It's one of those where you just keep putting money in. It proper took your money, because as soon as you were running low on health, you could pop some money in, it would just shoot you back up on the health. And it was a hard game as well when I was young. So I did get for Christmas a few years ago a little mini cabinet of that game, and it's amazing. They actually made an updated version for Android and iOS. So this is what I'm saying about how we're now so far past that it actually, going back to, I want to say like 2010, somewhere around then, they actually redid it with modern Superstars, and you could have it on your phone. So it's not there anymore though. For some reason you can't get the game anymore. I don't know if there was licensing issues or what the problem was, but it's not on Google Play or iOS anymore, which is a real shame, because obviously when you update your phone you can't get the game again. So I don't have it anymore, but fortunately I do have the cabinet. 1994 we got WWE Raw. That saw people starting to get specific move sets. In 95, it's funny you should talk about Mortal Kombat, but WWE WrestleMania came out on PS1, and this had the wrestlers in a Mortal Kombat style. You know, that kind of, I don't know what the style was, but it was like a photograph of them more so than them being animated.
Stop motion.
Yeah, stop motion, that's it. So this was really OTT. This was an arcade style. So it's not like you're grappling into a headlock, clothesline. It had elements of that, but Undertaker would shoot spirits and things like this. So it had like more of an arcade Mortal Kombat feel, and it had the stop motion as well. I think there was a few games they did that were kind of along those lines. I seem to recall 96 In Your House was along those lines also. 1996, again, Power Move Pro Wrestling came out, and this was one of the first 3D movement games. So now we're starting to move away from like a 2D kind of flat screen where you can just kind of go in a few directions. Now we're starting to kind of really move into the wrestling that we would know now. But that was non-WWE, that game, and that came out on the Sega Saturn. 1998, we got Warzone, which a lot of people love. That had a really good Creator Wrestler suite. I think Creator Wrestler had been in games before, but this brought it to like the WWE franchise and kind of took it up to the next level. 1999, we got WrestleMania 2000 with THQ and is it Ukes? I think it's Ukes. And then 2000, No Mercy. And No Mercy is one of those big games. This had loads of weapons, an incredible story mode, a mega roster, new arenas, ladder matches got brought in. No Mercy really is seen as like one of the games. I would say that if you talk to passionate wrestling video game enthusiasts, they'll probably talk to you about Wrestlefest. They'll talk to you as well about No Mercy and a couple of others that we'll talk about in a bit. But that kind of sets the scene, if you will, for the 90s. There's obviously like loads of other games in there, but just trying to touch on some of the bigger points, some of the bigger developments, if you will. That's kind of a rough overview. Did you ever play any of those?
I've played WrestleMania 2000. It's fun. It's very fun.
Yeah. I think anything around that time is there's a lot of affection for, because of course that is the Attitude Era. So it's no surprise to me that when people talk about some of their favorite games, and they talk about like No Mercy from 2000, or they'll talk about Here Comes the Pain from 2003, or Shut Your Mouth from 2002. It's all around Attitude Era. You know, you're talking Stone Cold, Rock. I think that played a massive, massive part, because that's really when wrestling was at its absolute peak. You know, that's when the world was going crazy for it. So, yeah, I loved playing Royal Rumble, which I think came out in about '94. But I think that was like the first wrestling game that I really hammered hard at home. Like one of those where it's like all day, every day, after school, weekends. Just, I loved that game. What's really difficult about doing this video is it's really hard to explain why. Do you know what I mean? It's really hard to say why I loved Royal Rumble and I put the time into that, but yet I didn't with Warzone, or I didn't with Raw, or I didn't with, you know, some of the other games. Because as you said, I think,
like back then you only had like one game. Nowadays you have a whole collection, wherein back I know when I was younger it was like I could only get one game, and for sure that was the game I was going to play non-stop. That was the game I was going to beat and beat and beat. But nowadays, like I have a backlog. I don't have to play a game non-stop.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you know, you would get a game when you was young for your birthday, maybe. More likely Christmas, you'd get a few games, and it's not likely. I mean, you'd have to be a real hardcore fan to ask for several wrestling games. You know, you'd probably just get the latest wrestling game that's out, but also maybe a football game, maybe a shooting game. You know, you'd want a bit of variety. If you're gonna get, say, 3 games for Christmas, you're probably not going to get 3 different wrestling games. So, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's probably why I've got great memories about, say, one game in particular, because some of these other ones, certainly from the 90s, I would have played around a friend's house, which, you know, you get a feel for it, but it's not something that you're going to be hammering all day, every day, because obviously it's around your friends. In the 2000s then, as we've touched on it already, but Shut Your Mouth, WWE Smackdown, that came out in 2002. This was a huge gameplay change. It was kind of the end of the button mashing kind of arcade style that had kind of dominated the 90s. Now it was more reversals and strategy and a slowed down pace. So there's some great games in that style, but if I'm being honest, that is not the style that I prefer. This is like a more rewarding style in a way. It's kind of like the more time you put into it, the more you are going to get out of it. But it's not easy to just pick up and play. There's more of a learning curve with this kind of gameplay. So I much prefer that pick up and, you know, just mashing a few buttons. And as you said, that's probably why Battlegrounds is got, you know, a bit of excitement around it. So I'm really looking forward to that title as well. I'm intrigued by it, 'cause it's been quite a while since we had an arcade wrestling game.
High hopes.
Yeah, high hopes indeed. There was actually an Easter egg with that Smackdown Shut Your Mouth, where you could actually climb the entrance stage and you could actually get on top of the Smackdown fist. You could actually stand on top of it with your opponent and start fighting up there. It's not a part of the game that you would think that you could access, but if you tried, you could actually get up there and you could actually fight up there. After that, we had Here Comes the Pain. This is an absolute classic. This might be the game. This might be the one. It could be No Mercy, or it could be this one. But
I'd argue it's Smackdown, Just Bring It. and
Okay.
WWF Raw, because those are the only games where you can play as Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst. If only we can fly.
I love facts like that. That's the kind of information that I was trying to find, but it's not, man. There's loads of playthroughs and things like that, but actual like facts, there's not loads of like fact videos out there and things like that. So yeah, I love information like that. In regards to Here Comes the Pain, though, this is a classic. There's a whole new character damage kind of that is overhauled. There's a return of some big names to the roster as well, like legends-wise. There's also a little hidden arena in this game whereby I think you can break the wall in the gymnasium and it kind of opens up another area that you can compete in. After this, we start moving into the Smackdown versus Raw kind of phase, and I've got some really good memories from that as well. This is very much what you're talking about, whereby SmackDown versus Raw 2007, SmackDown versus Raw 2008, SmackDown versus Raw 2000. It becomes Madden. It's where it's largely the same gameplay, same company, just updating, and you know, you get little tweaks and changes here and there. So we went through that series. That went all the way up to 2011. Then we got WWE 12. Then we got WWE 13. These are all made by 2K and THQ. And then we got to 2K14, and that's the start of the series that we know now. So that's kind of where we are with the games, how we got to 2K20. I think the big thing about this year was just how bad it was. I mean, we have to talk about 2K20 and the fact that it was an absolute disaster. And as a result, there is no 2K21. It was so bad, they're taking a year off to fix it. And the reason why is because Ukes, that we spoke about earlier, they had been with WWE and they'd been helping to develop the games. They ended up leaving, and so 2K was completely on their own, and the whole game just fell apart. They had to kind of redo a lot of the game after Ukes had left, and that's why it wasn't ready. Basically, it was a game that wasn't ready. Simple as that. They put it out full of glitches. They must have known that it wasn't ready. There must have been, I would love a documentary behind the scenes just about 2K20, just like with people saying we knew it wasn't ready, we knew it was gonna crash and burn, and the reviews are atrocious, the glitch videos are just all over the internet, it's just horrible. But they're taking a year off. They're giving us Battlegrounds this year instead, and they've promised that they're going to come back bigger and better with 2K21. And the guy that's overseeing it, he is very, very vocal online about getting feedback about what's wrong, what do people want, all stuff like that. So high hopes that they can actually give us the game that we want. But obviously, the thing is, people want different things. So, I don't know what to expect. Have you got a favourite out of all of the games? No,
because it's like I came aboard with, I think it was 2K14 on the PS3 with the New Age games, and then 15 went to PS4, and it was just. It seems like every installment, it just gets worse, and I know that's kind of what everyone always says about anything, but like every time they made it more like actual wrestling and not arcadey, that's when I don't have fun with the game, because I just want to. For me, the best wrestling game is one that the gameplay is arcadey. I can give my friends a controller and they can just hop right in. But also I want that the booking angle. I really love when the games allow you to be a booker and just make wild matches and run through maybe a year or two of a wrestling promotion and have whatever wacky generated stuff happens during that.
Do you know, that was, I mean, it's funny you should say that, because we was just talking about the guy that's taken over, that's asking fans what they want. That was the most requested thing, the return of GM mode. GM mode is, it's a mode that allows you to basically buy the wrestlers. You've got a certain amount of money. You buy the wrestlers that you want out of the list, out of the roster that's in the game. Obviously, you can't afford them all, so you have to pick and choose. Then once you've got your wrestlers, you have to create your own show. You have to, as you said, book your own show. So it might be that you get, you know, Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio in the first match. And then your next segment, you have a promo. Then you might do Kane versus Undertaker, and you might do that for the title. And then you might do another promo. And then basically, once you've booked your show, the ratings come in, and you can see what worked, what didn't work, and then like you can tweak it for the next week. And obviously those wrestlers are going to get tired and things along these lines, and so you have to kind of you know, be careful with your roster. People are going to get injuries, and it really does kind of put you as Vince McMahon, if you will. It's a brilliant mode. There's this is what I was saying earlier about how some of these games, I do understand that the more you put in, the more you can get out. It's just got that really steep learning curve. And for I don't know why, but 2008 SmackDown versus Raw, 2008, for whatever reason, I bought that game and I was like, I am going to put so much time into this. I'm going to do this one properly. So I bought the game. I had a weekend off, and I actually even bought the game guide for it as well, when that was a thing. I bought the game guide, and so every wrestler had a page that told you all of their moves, how to do them, the buttons that you needed to press. Absolutely everything was in this game guide. I went through, and man, it's one of my favorite games. I loved it. When you actually put the time in, it's brilliant. Now, I mean, are there better wrestling games than that? 100%. But for some reason, when like I really put the time in and I got a lot out of it, and that had GM mode, and it was so good. I can't remember playing it before then, actually. I can't remember playing it before then, or certainly not on that scale. And yeah, it was really good stuff.
I will say, as someone that's played it, I do think that is one of the good ones, because it's just before they really started pushing the simulation aspect, and the gameplay is still fun.
Yeah.
And there's a lot you can do if you just don't want to play the wrestling. So yeah, I agree with you. That is one of the recent greats.
There's a few quirky games as well that have come out. Did you ever play? I don't know if you did. Crush Hour? No, Crush Hour came out in 2003. It was on the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube, and this had no wrestling in it whatsoever. This was cars. So it was basically like Destruction Derby, right? But so you're in an arena, and there's obviously like loads of flames shooting up from the floor and spikes on the side of the arena and all of this, and you're in a car, and you're basically driving around, and you can fire weapons and do all stuff like this, and you've got like JR commentating over the top. It's a little bit strange. The reviews were, I think, fair to say, mixed. I can remember playing it, and I thought that it was fun. I mean, it's not an essential, it's not a game. I think if they were to redo it in 2020, it could be brilliant, actually. I think they could do something with it. But, yeah, I think that it was a really great idea that was executed all right. It was all right. It could have been a disaster.
So it was basically Twisted Metal, but with WWE people?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Twisted Metal, I think you can play that more in the city, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this one was like exclusively inside like kind of like futuristic arenas, if you will. So yeah, it was Twisted Metal, Destruction Derby, I suppose Rocket League as well. Now that's all cars, but I know that's more football. But yeah, I think that because of the success of Rocket League, you'd probably have a more accepting audience for it. I think they might even have had WWE themed cars in Rocket League. That's been a massive success. So yeah, it's just interesting that they kind of went that way. And then obviously, there's like mobile games as well, which I wasn't really going to get too kind of bogged into because that's a whole murky world of bits and bobs that have been on there. But obviously Supercard is very popular, which is a very different kind of game. That's where you basically collect cards, and the cards, it's kind of like Top Trumps in a way, because you've got like a score for your speed and a score for your stamina and all that kind of stuff, but you can go against your friends who have got their own cards, and then whoever wins powers up and all this kind of stuff. So I remember playing the first season of that when it came out, and it was very good and it was very addictive. Actually, they had this one version, I am ashamed to say this, but they had this one version whereby the more you played in a 24-hour period, the better card you got at the end. So if you played for an hour, at the end, when the 24 hours was up, you'd get a nothing card. But if you'd like played and won like X amount, you'd get like a really impressive card. I can remember staying up all night, like just battering this game. I was like, I've got to get to this level. I need that card because that's going to really... Like, at one point, I was like one of the top Supercard players in the world. I was like right up there for Season 1. Which is why I was like, I want to say it was around about 2015, because I started on YouTube in 2016, and I was done. The thing with Supercard was that they brought in a Season 2, and it kind of largely felt like you were starting over again. It didn't feel like it was really kicking on from where you were. It was kind of like there was a lot of things that were coming in that was new, and I kind of looked at it as like, forget that. No, that's kind of like starting again. But yeah, I'm sure at one point I was like broken into like the top 1,000 in the world or something, and I think there was like hundreds of thousands of people that was playing it. So yeah, kind of crazy. So was there like I know you said about the GM mode or stuff like that, but is there anything in any of the games that kind of brings back like fond memories? Is there like a certain wrestler that you loved playing as, or was there a certain game mode that you loved playing, or is there a certain like computer?
The fact that it's taken me this long to consider
kind of suggests not.
Yeah.
I know people love things like casket matches and inferno matches and things along those lines, and they haven't actually been in the games for quite a few years. I think that was something that was also requested for 2K21 to bring back some of those kind of gimmick matches. So I can't remember when they last featured. I think General Manager mode actually hasn't been around since SmackDown versus Raw 2009. I think was the last time that we had it. There's been like different incarnations of it, but not quite the same as that. Create a finisher is something that people absolutely loved as well. I don't think we've had that since 2K14 or something along those lines. Story designer. This was in SmackDown versus Raw, where you could actually make your own stories and then you could like play them out. I mean, they did some very innovative stuff. And a good chunk of these things have been missing in recent years. They've just become so cookie cutter. Just so, as you said, Madden. It's just the same game with a different year on the end of it, you know? That it was it'd gone very, very stale. Very, very stale. So fingers crossed that they can come up with something like really exciting and give us something in 2021. Yeah, I've got high hopes for Battlegrounds. High hopes for Battlegrounds. And that was everything I had. Was there anything that you wanted to throw in?
Yeah, let me just quickly do this because I know by the time Friday comes, I'm going to want to be sleeping super quickly. But I'm just going to quickly talk about some stuff that were cut from games or some games that didn't come to fruition.
Oh, amazing.
So in WrestleMania 2000, the following wrestlers were cut. They were in the ROM data, but didn't make the final cut either because of, well, we'll see. So Goldust was originally going to be in it, but he left during development. Owen Hart was going to be in it, but he passed away. Tiger Ali Singh and Gilbert were going to be in it. Sable, Nicole Bass, and Ryan Shamrock were also going to be in it too.
Wow, so they're in the raw data.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's cool.
So they were, yeah. And then No Mercy, my boy Big Show was going to be in it, but he wasn't. Only his face texture is in there, and you can find it online. It's just a face of him going like. And then SmackDown versus Raw 2011, the following wrestlers were going to be in it, but were cut. Carlito, JBL, Jeff Hardy, the Great Khali, Matt Hardy, Tommy Dreamer, Kalen Croft, Chris Masters, Hurricane, Shane Helms, Trent Beretta, Tyler Rex, Bret Hart, Bob Orton, Dusty Rhodes, $1 Million Man, Carlito, and Primo. So a lot of people got cut from that game.
Yeah, a lot of people.
And then more contemporary 2K15, the following wrestlers were in the game data, but weren't ever made, weren't ever released. Trish Stratus was one that there are voice lines for her. Michael Cole sometimes glitches out and randomly says, and Trish makes the cover, but she's not in the game, as well as Sin Cara. Sin Cara was apparently going to be part of the NXT DLC pack because he was on NXT at the time, but it didn't happen, which is kind of odd because they probably already had all of the models for him because he was used before in the game. So I don't know why they didn't just add that. And then talk about games that were cut. There was going to be in 2004 a game called WWE Titans Parts Unknown. So yeah, it looked like a weird game. I have no idea. You could fight against beasts. So I'm kind of, yeah, maybe it was good it wasn't made. And then there was going to be a Mario game that was not WWE. It was going to be volleyball mixed with wrestling, but it was never made. I don't know how that would work. Probably not well, and that's probably why it wasn't made.
Yeah, I can't figure that out. I can't figure that out. I'm trying to think how you would do it. Like, why would you fight with your... The aim of volleyball is to put the volleyball back over the net. So you're working with the person on your side. So you wouldn't fight with that person. I don't know. I can't get out.
I don't think there was a net. Yeah, I don't... It wasn't made, so...
Yeah, so we'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
Was there any non-wrestling games that took your attention?
Growing up?
Yeah. Have you ever been like into like a video game that you've really put hours into?
Of course. But I love this. We were talking about being a kid, getting that one game. So I was a child at my local video game store. My mom was like, you can get one game. And they had 2 Super Nintendo games on display. One was Batman Forever, and the other one was like Final Fantasy 3, one of the greatest games of all time.
Can I just stop you for a second? You was in a video game store, and they
had
two Super Nintendo. It's like, what store are you in? Where they've got 2. It's like
a video game store was like a toy store that might have had 1 or 2 video games.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense. In my mind, you're in a shop that's just like basically empty. There's nothing on the shelves apart from one plinth one plinth in the middle. It's just got these 2 games, and your mum's like, you can have anything you want, and you stood there just choosing between these 2, just staring at them like this, trying to work out which way to go.
Like, I'm sure they had a rack of Game Boy and Sega games, but
I'll let them off.
Super Nintendo, that was basically it. But I went with Batman Forever, one of the worst games of all time.
Okay.
And I kind of regret it, but also it has a pretty good soundtrack.
When you was playing it, though, did you regret it?
Oh, that game was awesome.
Yeah.
5-year-old me thought it was the best game ever.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember getting a game. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say it was King of Monsters, something along these lines, where there's a city and you're a monster and you've got to fight another monster. It's a rubbish fighting game. It's not very good. What is really great is as you're fighting around the city, as soon as you're knocking into buildings, they crumble and collapse. So you're kind of like, there's all this destruction element, but at its core, it's just a fighting game against another monster. But, I mean, compared to, like, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all this kind of stuff, they were so much better. I think there's actually quite a lot of affection for this King of Monsters game, but looking back on it now, I mean, there was much better, more exciting games that were available. But I think this one was quite cheap. But honestly, I loved it. I loved it because as a kid, it kind of becomes your world, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, as we said, you only have so many games that, you know, the fact that you've got a new game, it doesn't matter that it's not that great. It's going to get your time. It's going to get, you know, you're going to really have a good go at it and just make the most of it. Enjoy it regardless, you know? So, yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely.
That's cool. I really like the Borderlands series that's come out like in recent times, past 10 years or so. That's the first Borderlands is one of the only games I've ever completed. I'm so rubbish at completing games. I can't do it. I can't do it. I mean, like, things with wrestling that you never actually complete. Like, I mean, you could do the campaign modes, I suppose, but by and large, it's I've always thought it's picking up playing with your friends, and obviously you're never going to complete that. But like, if it's like a proper campaign, I'm the worst. I just can't do it. I just kind of I can get so far, then I might get stuck. The worst one. There's a game called Flashback, right? There's a game. This is, oh man, I wasn't even going to go here, but there's a game called Flashback that was on the Mega Drive. You can actually get it on the Switch, Nintendo Switch. You can buy it from the eShop. It's 89p right now. But I bought it for like £30 on the Mega Drive. You start on a platform, right? And you got to jump across. I could not do the first jump. I couldn't do the first jump. And to this day, I've never made that first jump. I couldn't do it. It's a £30-odd game, and I have never got past the first screen. I can't do it. you have to run and jump, and I tried day after day after day after day. This is like
Daze,
it's a real problem.
I think I know what the next live stream on this channel is going to be.
What, is it going to be me trying to make that jump?
Yeah.
I won't do it, and it's going to bring back such awful memories. I tried so hard. I tried everything. I honestly tried everything. I tried every combination my little brain could think of, and I just could not make that jump. And I could not get any further in the game. And I was honestly, it's 89p this game, and I was like, I'm really tempted to get it just to give it another go, because I feel like I should be able to do it now. Do you know what I mean? I'm 21 now, so I should be able to do that jump. But what if I can't? I mean, what does my life become if I'm still can't make that jump? I don't know.
Successful YouTuber.
Wow. Everything it'll be the beginning of the end. It'll be the unraveling.
Yeah, you'll buy a 50-pound bag of rice.
Yeah.
That's how you'll know you hit the bottom.
I'll buy 2 bags, and I'll be sat here next week with one on either side like this.
100 pounds. Too many.
Too many. Hey, look, I think we're done. I think we're done. We can go on, but I think I've revealed enough as it is. So awesome, right? Have you any plans for this week?
No, not at all, not at all. Just seeing how the world turns.
Wow, you went proper spooky then. You went goosebumps. You went full blown goosebumps. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I should imagine all the images that we can get for this one again is going to make this video look quite good. And I should imagine that people have been shouting out their favourite games in the chat as well. So make sure that you do if you are watching along live, or drop it down in the comments as well. Genuinely, I would actually like to see what people have got to say on this, because yeah, there's a lot of games that as I said, I've played for like the first day or whatever, and then never gone any further than that. So I'd love to know what games people have had great experiences with. So drop it in the comments below. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and hopefully see you again next week when we're gonna be talking about WWE SummerSlam. Bye for now.